seen in my life, lad.
Thank you very much. Right. Hello, everyone. Sorry, we're running on Zoomer time here. We are within the 5 minutes. So, very, very good evening to you. Hope you're having a blessed and good Sunday. Someone's got a bit too much background audio, so mute yourself if you're not talking, please. You know what? I'll do it myself. There you go. Right. Okay. Oh, for God's sake. Playing my own stream. Right, Zoom attack. Right, hello everyone in the chat. It's Mothering Sunday today, which is the time that we think about as Christians or as people in general, just sort of about the sort of contributions that mothers make and things like that. Hope you bought your mother a card or a present or a related good. If you haven't, then shame on you. Joking. All right. Anyway, that was the worst intro of all time. I best introduce everyone here today. So we got Mr. Anglo Swagson. Do you want to introduce yourself? You're on mute. I'll unmute you. There you go.
Oh. Yeah, thank you. My name is Otis. I am a conservative. I know I'm disgusting. You want me to just say what I believe very briefly? Because I think you did that last time, right?
Okay, you can say what you believe. Sure, go on then.
Okay, I'll keep it short. I'm a traditionalist conservative and an Anglican Christian.
Very based.
I think that sums up my beliefs.
Very, very based. All right. And so the second person we got to introduce today is Right Honourable Limbu. He does some really, really good videos. I recommend you check them out. Link should be in the description if I remember to do it. He did a video this week. I think it was on sort of the battle for right-wing politics. Obviously, right-wing politics at the moment, it sort of feels like when right-wing politicians sort of get into power, it's sort of almost a pause. Well, not even a pause. It's sort of more just like a slowing down of the march of the infinite march of progress. As some people might call it. We might see it otherwise, but a very, very good channel to check out, Mr. Right Honourable Limbu. But I should let him introduce himself now. So there you go.
Hello, my name's Limbu, but you can call me Right Honourable Limbu. To sum up my political views, I'm a classical conservative, while my economics are quite, let's just say, theocratic. Yeah, I'm done.
All right, that's very cool. And make sure you check out his channel. And so we've got Napoleon here. He'll be the next person. If I can click on mute. Oh, he's muted himself. So we'll go to Ozzy next then. Ozzy, anyone want to talk at all? All three of you are on mute. All right, okay, Ozzy, you go then.
Hi, I'm Ozzy. You guys all know me, so I'm not that interesting. So someone else,
cool.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Next person, Colombian. You want to say anything? We're 4 minutes in. We've not done anything so far. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I'll get started. Some of you have met me before, but I'm sort of getting started out in the can we say podcast world? Yeah, Colombian, a bit of a theocrat, bit of a lunatic. Most of you just know me as. I hope you're recording this because my recorder actually just broke. So
it will be.
Can we avoid drama?
No drama.
Yeah, well,
no
can you guys hear me?
Yeah,
we
can
can
hear you now.
Like, just talking to myself.
Yeah, loud and clear.
Oh, okay.
All right,
Napoleon, who are you then? Who are you?
That's a very deep question, Otis. I
think a short introduction will be nice, thank you.
All right. Napoleon, just saying that I'm very anti. Go on other topics. That's just me.
All right, cool. So we should probably get on to the first topic. We'll go in chronological order. Obviously we had the Megan Markle Oprah interview this week. I saw it. It wasn't a particularly interesting affair. You sort of had these kind of, I don't know, you sort of have, I guess it's an interaction between what you could call like the sort of the old order, like the monarchy, like Prince Harry, obviously the great grandson of Queen Victoria, and you've got obviously his wife. And then across from him, you have obviously they're socially distanced. You know, they're keeping to the canon of, you could say, the cathedral or the establishment. They're keeping to that canon. They're social distanced during the interview. And on the other side, you've got Oprah Winfrey. And she's obviously part of the new aristocracy, isn't she? She's down there in LA, California. She's a billionaire. She knows all these media and political and establishment figures, and vice versa, and yada yada, etc. But you know, there was sort of an undercurrent of injustice where the new order was kind of tackling the old order. There was sort of this undercurrent. They didn't say it specifically, but there was an undercurrent that you know, the old order was committed the ultimate crime of racism against Meghan Markle. And yeah, I think you can definitely see it could be interpreted, I think absolutely interpreted, in fact, as the new order attacking what is left of the old order. But we should go around and see people's opinions on the whole Meghan Markle debacle. So I guess we'll go to Otis first.
Right. Well, at this point, I find most politics even boring at this point. But I think it goes to show just how the left are going to try and get rid of every institution. I mean, how do people get, well, first of all, deplatformed for people on our scale, but then how do people get fired? How do people get removed from their position in society? How do entire institutions get reformed or even abolished? Racism, it's all down to this accusation of racism. Now, we all know that the Queen is not racist. She's a very Christian woman. But now that Meghan Markle has commanded her army of teenage girls to harass, well, online harass, I suppose she doesn't even check her social media herself, so it doesn't mean anything. But the opinion polls are what matters. I mean, opinion polls decide policy effectively. People go with what the public mood is. And they are going to attack our monarchy with the accusation of racism. And until we're able to convince people that, hold on, perhaps we should actually examine the evidence of the accusation made, which a lot of people unfortunately don't do, we could see our monarchy go. And, well, call me blackpilled, but that's just my thoughts on it.
Cool. I think there's a lot of truth in that. Someone brought up that Prince Harry may actually not be the son of Prince Charles. There is a theory in that. There may be some truth to that. But
I mean, I like to believe it, so
we'd yeah. I've actually seen youths show you support Monarch more than they support Markle. Well, yeah, that's rather unsurprising. But we'll go over to Limbu now. Any thoughts on the whole Meghan Markle debacle, Limbu?
Well, it's not surprising, really. I mean, you can look at the whole Diana fiasco and compare it to this, but in reality, Meghan Markle's no Diana. I have no real opinions on this because this is quite diabolical. I mean, all the claims she made about, oh, her son won't become thing because she's mixed race. No, I mean, that's not the fact. The fact is that you wanted to become removed from duties, so that doesn't make any sense at all. And then claiming that has to do something with racism because you're going to get British taxpayers' money cut off from you. I mean, that's quite disgusting, that claim as well. And then finally, the claim on the Duchess of Cambridge and something along the lines of making her cry. I mean, that's just too vague. I mean, we just can't take evidence off her and Prince Harry now. So that's my honest opinion.
Yeah. I think that there's you know, the whole accusations on people like the Duchess of Cambridge and people like that who I think by any analysis have performed their royal duties to the utmost, which is saddening, and it's attack on the whole institution and by extension the state itself, obviously, because the monarchy is the state. In essence, it's her armed forces, it's her, you know, government and those kind of things. So she's obviously the physical embodiment of the state. But we'll go to Ozzy now. Any thoughts, Ozzy?
I mean, the general thing for me would be that monarchy is a 2,000-year-old institution, at least in our understanding of from father to son, and it just shocks me, just the immaturity that after 1,000 years of success and stability, and health that the monarchy's brought this country. Some upstart, stupid little girl from the Americas thinks she can go and ruin it because people don't like her. I have little to say about the monarchy that isn't already said 1,000 times by a lot of other people, but I would say that I find Meghan Markle in particular just a very unconscionable moral character.
I think. Are you good, Ozzy? Can I?
Yeah.
Good.
You're a wee bit muffled,
think-
Callum.
Yeah, sorry, you know what my mic quality is like, and I know what my mic quality is like, but there's been, in the past 2 years, there's been a lot of controversy around the royal family simply because of the Prince Andrew incident. There's too much ground to, can we say, Republicanists who want to disband the monarchy. They simply get to turn around and say, why did Prince Andrew get away? I mean, I can't really empathize with Meghan Markle because I'm not really a fucking random woman who got with a prince. But Prince Harry himself, he has a lot of reason to hate against the what's the word? The news of the country, the newspapers. He served 2 tours of Afghan. He got his position leaked by a tabloid, who then that led to him being pulled from active service. He then starts flying out for helicopters. He's still willing to do these interviews after having his positions leaked somehow. I don't even know how that even happened. He came back home. He then got slated by the press for his costume parties, if anyone remembers that. Does anyone remember Prince Harry's outfits and his antics in the US? He's definitely got enough reasons to hate the British tabloids than a lot of other celebrities, and then there's the whole Diana fiascos as well. But I think the whole Meghan Markle thing has just been breaking point. It has genuinely got to him to a new level. You have to feel sorry for the guy, really. I guess that's me out.
Based. That's I feel a bit of sympathy for Prince Harry to an extent, right? Obviously, he's been put in. Well, I feel a lot of sympathy for the royal family in general. Obviously, there's a great responsibility that's been put on their shoulders. I believe divinely, but to an extent, he's been dragged onto national television to embarrass his family publicly, right? So he should have put his foot down and said no to that. Really, I think it's her doing very clearly. And I don't know why he married her in the first place. He had plenty of perfectly good other options.
Yeah, did you see his piece that he had before her? She was amazing. Oh my goodness. He just moved on.
I
Thanks for that, Ozzy.
never really kept in contact. I never really kept tabs or watched royal news or any of that stuff until I actually got this job and the whole culture war began.
One thing I'd
Anyway.
like to mention.
Yeah, go.
One thing I'd like to mention is that I think Prince Harry's before fiance was Chelsea Davy, a rich jewelry store owner, millionaire, and she was a moral woman. And to see how he moved on to get a little American movie star, it's quite disappointing, to be honest. That as the monarchy, we need to have standards. We can't just let things like this go away.
In all fairness, he has had some adventures in America, but yeah, if anyone's seen the costume parties or any of the parties, really,
Yeah.
He seems to be someone who doesn't have a good sense of judgment a lot of the time.
He's definitely done a lot with his life. He's been to Afghan who knows how many times. He's flown a Mert cover. He's been out to Dragoons. He's definitely someone who deserves a bit of a break. But at the same time, this just boils down to millionaire gets interviewed by billionaire. And I have fucking bills to pay at some point.
I mean, like, one of the things that is interesting about this is that an institution that's supposed to be very close to God and very sacred and special and close to the heart of the British soul is now basically a press talking point. That's something that's very disheartening about, that's, and the idea of whether we should or shouldn't have the monarchy is entirely impinged on the next article headline that the Sun's going to run. Is just it's a bit demoralizing for me. I don't feel very happy about the situation we're in at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's the whole situation. You had Piers Morgan marching off Good Morning Britain as well.
I'm
Which
gonna
is
say now, right, of all the hills that Piers Morgan could die on, he chose that one. It's a stupid place to just game end his GMB career, especially after all the other shit that's happened.
Do we actually like Piers Morgan though? I thought the consensus
No.
was
Does
that
anyone
we didn't
like
actually
it?
like him.
This is
I mean-
I don't know, actually, he's the sort of guy, you'll wake up in the morning, you'll go to cook yourself some breakfast, you'll sit down, you'll watch about 15 minutes, and you'll just get on with your day. Do you know what I mean?
No,
Yeah.
more of a Duke's a massive person, frankly.
I
Well.
don't really know. I don't choose what's on the telly in the block.
I mean, Piers Morgan, I mean, I couldn't respect him as a person, especially due to the Murdoch hacking and the false war allegation, especially with his brother as a military man himself. But overall, I think overall,
I mean, let's be clear.
Go on.
Anyone who gets spanked by Ben Shapiro of all people is not worthy of your respect. Like,
Bam. Is that the professional terminology you're using here?
Well, yeah. I mean, the thing is with Piers Morgan, right? Like he has like a propensity to make like politically incorrect comments, I suppose. And usually when everyone's annoyed at Piers Morgan is usually when he's in the right. But I think he's certainly not someone who's on our side. He was obviously a CNN anchor for a long time. Famously had a big argument with Alex Jones on American national television.
oh, it was amazing.
He's
That.
a
yeah,
show.
that was beautiful.
He's a bit of a shill, to be fair. He'll say what gets the clicks, he'll hack what gets the clicks, and he'll, steal. I don't even know the whole war crime situation, but apparently,
I wouldn't say Piers Morgan. Piers Morgan is no Tucker Carlson. I'm just saying that.
Oh,
Piers
yeah.
Morgan,
I think
Piers
Andrew
Morgan
Neil.
can't even resonate with the working man. But continue with your Andrew Neil stuff. I
think Andrew Neil deserves that title more. He said in 1997 that he wanted a republic, but aside from that, I can't really hold that much against him. Aside from being an atheist, but you can't be perfect.
The closest thing to sorry, Karen.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, backtracking a little bit. It's not just little girls that are against the monarchy now. We have to be serious about this. Half of Labour members, according to a recent Survation poll? Yeah, it was Survation. They said half of Labour voters want to establish a republic and half want a monarchy. Like, it's a lot of people we're talking about who are very annoyed. Now, obviously, that's for nonsensical reasons, but we have to acknowledge that we have a problem. The good news is it's going down. The poll showed that the support for a republic went down by 8%, which is significant and great considering the times we're in at the moment. And another thing about swearing in the armed forces to the Queen, keep in mind politicians won't be afraid to take that away from the Queen. I mean, look at recently Tony Blair and David Cameron, both of which they took away the last powers that the Queen had. And Peter Hitchens, I'm a filthy newspaper reader, by the way. I was reading in Peter Hitchens' column today that politicians want the power the Queen has, frankly, ever since the Acts of Union and since the Glorious Revolution. Politicians have been furious that the power that the Queen has, or the monarch of Great Britain has, by being the arbiter of what gets royal assent, their fears. They want that power, and I think that they would want the power of having the armed forces swear to them as well. So we shouldn't expect them not to do
Agreed.
it.
From a more armed forces point of view, our oath was stupidly quick. I think it was about day 2 of basic training. We hadn't got our uniforms yet. We walked in there with suits. We either sit in front of our DO or DS, swear our oath, sign our papers, and it was back to it. It was very. We didn't all sit in a hall like in the movies and chant out a massive speech, but it was. I don't even remember the full speech because I was like absolutely knackered at the time, but. It is still a pretty Christian organisation. When I was at HMS Valley, all the memories, we church every Sunday, and you also had an option of a multi-faith prayer room, I think, and some atheist chat when you have to write an essay for 2 hours. But church was definitely one of the better points of Phase 1 training. For the sole purpose it was much more of a friendlier environment than getting screamed at and running through mud and getting you beds you launched across the room.
Yeah,
As
GB News launches, it's at the end of the month. Is everyone excited for British Fox News?
Yes,
I
very.
haven't
Not at all,
been
no.
able to keep track. I genuinely haven't been able to keep track.
I'm of the personal opinion that it's going to be completely inconsequential. Like, Fox News is basically a backwater in the United States. The average age of its viewing audience grows every year. So,
Fox News, cheers, Bob.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I think if you look at the sort of appointments that GB News has made, it's pretty. There's some people in there that there's reason to be excited for. Sort of like Brexit Party type people, but it's mostly Andrew Neil, who I think used to be involved in the Adam Smith Institute. There's a guy who used to be anchor on Euro News, which is the pro EU news thing. There's Rachel Johnson as well, who obviously was a Change UK candidate. And it goes on and on and on with these sort of classical liberal people. It's not necessarily. I think one thing it is though is I think you'll see a lot of the sort of like anti-politically correct people, like we brought up Piers Morgan earlier. I think a lot of them will start to jump ship to. You won't really see them on BBC and ITV anymore. They'll probably only exclusively be on places like GB News, which is a bad thing because it's increasing polarization. It's increasing the sort of flame underneath society, and you can see even today there was the protesters about the really sad story about this woman who got killed, and they're sort of. I guess these people are sort of hijacking that and like trying to take it to Winston Churchill's statue. They're attacking these figures
Are they
and things like that.
actually attacking the Winston Churchill statue now? Because
I think they are. Yes.
I can see
is this
why.
is this over the death of was it Sarah Everhard? Everhard, sorry.
Joe.
Oh, okay, right. Okay.
All right.
This is more of an example of how absolutely batshit useless the police service is. Like, I've been going on for years about the stupid shit. I mean, we'd have a separate podcast to talk about the absolute apeshit things police officers have done. There's not been proper vetting. I've seen them lose evidence. I got stop searched whilst 200 meters down the road, a guy was getting his head whacked in with an axe handle. And they still arrested my mate for having fishing gear whilst we were fishing. It's absolutely grim that this has actually happened. It makes my it really grinds my gears, but you can't just.
There's like a story of like there's the Winston Churchill statue in Waterloo, I think. I can't remember. And during June, during the protests, the police let everyone vandalize it. I mean, I have my opinions on Churchill, and I know they're dicey in right-wing corners, but nonetheless, you don't vandalize statues. But like
he was definitely better than the other guy.
The guy who came to defend it got attacked by the police, but not the people vandalizing it. It's like,
That is
what?
shocking.
Well, I know there was
Yeah.
some British servicemen in London who actually went out and cleaned. I don't think it was a CO path. It was definitely another war memorial down a few blocks down. But yeah,
So actually, on that note of the police, so the person I work for, I have a job, by the way. The person I
Hey,
work for used to be a former police officer, and I was speaking to him about why he left the police force, and he cited this sort of stuff. Like, lots of people are saying correctly that the police are no longer a preventative police force. They no longer prevent crime. They just clean up afterwards. They catch the people who
mate.
do the crime. And I think
They
that's
don't
the
even
problem
catch
now.
them.
Yeah,
They don't even
well,
catch
well,
them.
well, there's that as well. Yeah, but that's what they see themselves as now. They see themselves as people who catch the criminals afterwards, or some nonsense like that. So they don't try and stop crime. And this is exactly what it is. They let people vandalize. They let people tear down was it Edward Colston, whatever his name was, his statue in Bristol, and they catch them afterwards. Well, thank God they actually charged them. But nonetheless, they don't prevent crime, and that's a huge issue. Like, you should be worried about walking down the street. Sarah Everard's death, it's a tragedy. It's one of many deaths. I think it's a bit odd why they're starting to publicize this death, even though there have been hundreds of knife attack victims. But nonetheless, it's a sad death. She should be scared because the police, not because of men assaulting her per se, but because the police won't try and prevent it. They will just clean up afterwards. And that's the sad reality of our police force.
How much did you know about, do you know Cressida Dick? Yeah, funny name, haha. But she's been involved in some fucking stupid scandals since her appointment. In about 2005 or 2007 it is, there was a botched arrest of a Brazilian man in which he was shot dead. She was actually the gold commander at the time.
Wasn't she in charge of the Rotherham inquiry as well? I may be wrong, but was she?
I don't actually know.
I'm almost certain she was involved in one of the sex abuse inquiries, but might have been the Rotherham one.
It was man shot in terror attack 2005. It was a case of mistaken identity. He was a political prisoner, and they thought he was reaching for some sort of a gun or a bomb, and they shot him. Yeah, she claimed
the police shooting people was a problem. Yeah, I mean, it's more of a problem in America, but it happens here. I mean, obviously you can't eliminate these things, obviously, but minimizing them is always a good thing to do. Anyway, continue.
Yeah, it starts with the community, basically. So you look at the US police training. They do about a police academy. They do shotguns, pistols, tasers, all the phase one or basic training. They do pretty much. Here's how you chase someone. Here's how you shoot someone. I'm not going to say anything edgy, but basic investigation skills. They get very minimal training on how to talk with another person. Here, though, you get the cut edition, so you learn how to hit people with a long metal stick. You do a very basic fitness test, which any fat fuck in this chat, including myself, could pass. 10.5 on the bleep test, ladies, by the way. But the rest of the training is mostly community. There's public order, there's fun stuff, first aid, but the majority of it...
Sorry, this might be a nice segue into the next story, I believe, John.
Absolutely.
The one about Lord Ahmed.
Lord Ahmed, of course. I think you should probably introduce that.
Okay.
I've not read about it. Yeah.
Well, essentially, there's it's so ironic. Lord Ahmed of Rotherham, of all places, was found. He was arrested for child sex abuse. Now, stereotypes aside, okay, funny, haha. But still, the guy was arrested, and the police were certain he did it. But he's now walking free for now. The trial is delayed.
Where he's from?
I don't. Let me take a look. I'll try and find
he
out.
was in Rotherham.
Yes.
Every single
Yes. That's the point.
That old chestnut, eh?
Well, if my ugly ass.
Well, actually, no. It's no. He actually was born in Kashmir. But anyway, more to the point.
No. But the offences were done in Rotherham.
Okay. I don't even know whether I don't even know whether they were done in Rotherham. But he's the Lord of Rotherham. But anyway, so the police arrested him. They were putting him on trial. But there was something about I think the evidence gathered which was wrong. They bungled up the investigation. I'll get the story up now. So the Daily Mail headline was Piers' sex abuse trial is axed after disgraceful police blunders. But the prosecutors will try and appeal again. So
I'm not even surprised. I'm not even surprised anymore. I've seen too many cases of evidence getting lost or manhandled at this point.
Well, from what it looks like, the police just failed to disclose evidence. I'm not sure whether it was evidence in favor of him or against him. I mean, I can't be too annoyed with the police personally.
I think what went wrong is that I'm reading BBC article and it said, despite the prosecution's massive and fraudulent failures to stick to disclosure rules, so the police did something wrong in the handling of information, which is a massive problem. And to see a massive case like this, someone who's going to go scot-free, even though there might be a repeal, that's quite disgusting, to be honest.
It's like we've done a 180, really. Like it used to be, we were taking too long. Like the police were just letting rape occur while they knew it. Yeah. Now we're going too fast. We're not doing it with the proper procedure.
It's totally selective prosecution.
Yeah, it's a shame. But yeah, that's one of the stories in the news. It goes to show that we need to fix our police force, but not just that, our legal system.
This goes back to what I was saying last week about how because of the infiltration of academia, I mean, everyone going through the law schools at the moment and every law academic is of the left-wing bent, and they will, and this is going to continue as long as you don't take control of institutions. So for us, this is possibly going to be a problem for a while. And I don't mean to blackpill people, but we need to have a target, and the target is the institutions. And as long as we don't, then stuff like this will keep happening.
Yeah, we haven't heard from Napoleon thus far on the Markle situation. So, Napoleon, you got any thoughts on anything that's been said thus far?
He's on MIA.
I don't really care, but
Okay. Perfect.
First one would well, there was what she said was she felt as if she was. Are my audio levels okay? Because I feel as if I'm cutting out every now and then. Yeah, is it okay now?
Yeah, it's right now.
All right. I feel as if like she says that she's being discriminated. I don't feel like it's unfair because she's, what is she, like a brown Jew? She's lived in America all her life, and she comes over and she steals our boy Harry. He had social responsibilities because he was like this massive masculine figure. Everyone loved him. She took him away, and she has the fucking gall to bitch about discrimination and how she feels uncomfortable in the UK. She lives in America. She gets interviews all the time. They'll be biased and they'll love her. She doesn't have to come here to speak to anyone, and yet she has the fucking gall to bitch about being discriminated against when it's just totally fair if you want to call it discrimination.
Like, let's be real here. I mean, I don't hate her for her race. I don't think anyone here does. I mean, the only people who did was that Polish guy.
Joking.
Okay, well, there was that Polish guy. Does anyone remember the incident where someone made that poster saying "Goodbye, race traitor" about Harry, and he got arrested for plotting to kill him or something? These are the people we're talking about. Very few people. Oh, it was ages ago. But the point is that we don't like Meghan because of the way she acts. I think she's well, maybe is snob the right word? I think she acts entitled. She acts obnoxiously, and
the term I would use is that she thinks her eye is bigger than her stomach. She thinks she's much bigger than she really is.
Yeah, and it's one of those classic examples. Or it feels like 2015 again. It was like we're not the real racists here. You're just calling us racist because we're white and you're brown. It's one of those situations.
She played a stupid game and she won a stupid prize.
Yeah. It's almost laughable how we're back in this situation of having to say, "Well, I'm not racist because this," but that is what it is. It's almost nostalgic.
Well, I mean,
I thought like we were back in 2015 again, lads.
Well, I mean, this is now like a mainstream politics with Lawrence Fox. So, I mean, you know, I wouldn't say it's nostalgic as much as it is a time-carried institution.
Yeah.
Time flies, boys.
I think one massive problem, especially with the institution, well, if you look at the American institution, they're capitalizing on the Meghan Markle Prince Harry interview. And what I'm currently reading right now, that CBS are seeking about 300 grand for 30 seconds of commercial time in the interview. And if you want to buy the footage itself, apparently it's up to worth of $500,000, which is disgusting, to say simply.
Oh boy, don't watch the anime if you've never read the manga.
The royal family is seen as an economic commodity now. Like I was looking at a server I'm in. It's a Empire LARPing Discord, not the one that you're in. But there was this I think he was a libertarian.
Invite Eno in the chat. She can go fuck herself.
Anyway, let's not touch on that.
Let's not go there.
But back to the point, there was this libertarian on the server, and he said, well, I'm not against the monarchy or pro the monarchy, but I guess I'm slightly pro because they're good for the economy. This is what we're coming down to. We're coming down to having to justify what we believe to be God-appointed. I mean, you know what, I'll guess and go a step further. They are God-appointed. We're correct, and they're wrong. We're getting to the point where we have to justify what should be justified by Christianity. We have to justify it by economics.
Yeah.
This is the problem.
It's always been a thing. I mean, you can look at the 70s and with The Guardian and like Dennis Skinner. They've been talking about, a republic. And we had to always defend not on a moral scale, but on a scale of economics. I mean, we can't justify anything else due to changing demographics. People aren't Christian anymore. That's a massive problem as well.
Well, that should be fixed with the church. That's less of a political issue, more of a church issue, and I hope all of us here will try and reverse that.
Well, giving your money to church is not a good thing. You should be giving it to consume product.
Well, I'm not even saying give money. I mean, you don't need to use your own money to do this. I mean, I don't want to go on a tangent. I want to stick to the topic, but I'll say briefly, you can do anything with faith. You can do anything with God on your side. You just need to pray for it, and it will happen. Like a priest said.
On my side.
Yeah, very funny, very funny. But a priest said to me that you go and find the disciples of Christ, and Christ will build the church for you. You don't need to worry about where the resources to build a Christian movement from. And this can also be a political Christian movement. Don't worry about where the resources and the money will come from. Worry about convincing people, and God will provide for you. Asking for daily bread is not just an empty phrase. It's for sustenance. It's for maintaining what you have and for building the church. Anyway, tangent over. Thank you.
Yeah, very true. Yeah. I mean,
I do some other stories that we could look at, which might be a bit of a white pill for once.
Oh boy, the white pills.
Yeah, lovely.
It's looking like Mr. Joe Biden, our favorite Irish American friend, will not try and use his heritage to attack the UK, because I was reading this article earlier this week from what's it called, foreignpolicy.com, and I make a very convincing argument to say that it is not in America's interest to break up the UK. To put it simply, our nuclear deterrent is in Scotland, right? And if Scotland goes independent, that is controlled by the SNP, and they want to decommission it. And that means another important ally in Europe becomes impotent. And that's bad for America's interests.
In terms of
we can unpack that, because there's a problem with that. First of all, the US does not need the UK's nuclear deterrent. The systems we use are almost entirely dependent on the US, and the US can't do anything that we can do. So there's a problem with that. But more importantly, Biden has shown that he doesn't care about pragmatism. And I would be very careful about saying, oh, someone won't do this because of pragmatic reason. They are not, this is ideology you're dealing with, and that's not a beast that obeys the rhyme or reason of pragmatism.
You mean the senile man who doesn't know what year it is won't be logical? Well, slap me silly with a codfish.
What I do mean by that, though, and what I do mean quite seriously, is that if you think you're out of the woods because we have some nukes, I wouldn't go that far. What I would say is that Biden is a bit of a pushover, and that I'm more worried about people in his administration.
Well, it's still a white bill, because there is some reason to say that America will not try and break us up, or at least they will not be neutral to it. There's some reason to say that we will have their backing, which is a comfort. I mean, we should take what we get.
We will definitely not lose the nuclear deterrent, even if we are going to lose Scotland. We still have the facilities down south for submarines. The T-classes are still floating about Devonport, but there's been such a massive drive for submariners that we're not going to lose anytime soon. Especially with all the benefits you get when you start signing up. You get your 5,000 quid, you get your pay rise and subs pay, and we cannot afford to lose something like that. And even if we wanted to, we couldn't.
Well, with America, at this point, which the way I see it is that we're the, well, we should be the mother because we made them, but we're the baby attached to the mother with the umbilical cord. And, well, I think we all agree that America is going to fall apart because the Democrats will run it into the ground. What we need to work towards is, instead of saying, oh, where we went wrong, because I think we can all agree that the right has a problem of focusing on the past and saying we want to bring back stuff, we want to go back to something. I think that's impossible. You can't go back. The past is already done. Yeah, and that's totally Peter Hitchens puts this very well. We need to work towards the future that we want. We need to work towards a future that we actually want, and that needs to be a smooth transition away from the American sphere of influence, because we know the American sphere of influence will be damaging to us. I think the other week you were talking about there being a British Nick Fuentes. For the record, I think that's not going to help us. We don't need a Nick Fuentes here. We need someone who is we need someone who is
allow it. Okay.
No drama.
Okay. No drama.
Who's invited
would you look at the time?
Guys, no drama.
On a non-ironic note, I'm going to be going soon anyway. But before I go, we don't need a Nick Fuentes. I mean, I think Nick Fuentes is an anti-Semite, frankly. Sorry, but I do. And I think what we need is someone who is calm, who is willing to work with the establishment, because that's simply how politics works in this country. We need someone who's willing to build alliances with people who aren't going to agree with us. That's how party politics works here. So,
yeah, I think that's correct as well. And you've covered there the problem with like the whole return thing. Like, I think I can understand why like people like Nick Fuentes sort of want to return to, like, I suppose, like I guess the image that he portrays is like 1950s Americana. he sort of romanticizes that time quite a lot, and he sort of says, "Oh, this was like the time, that we need to return to, right?" And the problem with that is that you've still got the background of the Enlightenment. You've still got the background of the liberal democratic system. And I think if you return to 1950s America, what you'd see is basically just modernity starting up again. So
I think unfortunately you've fallen into the same trap, because it's this obsession with the Enlightenment. Like, yeah, we would probably disagree with a few of the ideas of the Enlightenment, maybe some we'd agree with, but at the end of the day, we are again focusing on this. Well, let's be real here. Who actually cares about the Enlightenment? Enlightenment, rather. I'm so British I accidentally say license. But no, no one really cares that much about the Enlightenment. It's not. It may be relevant that the actual ideas are implemented in our system, but no one calls it the Enlightenment, if that makes sense. It's focusing on where we perhaps went wrong in the past. I'll be honest, I don't know that much about the Enlightenment aside from it's the liberals, so forgive me.
I think the Enlightenment's more of a philosophical problem for us right-wingers and just overall. But on the point of American influence, I just think sometimes, especially as, America's toy now, how can we lose America's influence? I think that's my main question, because I certainly don't know.
I actually think there's a pretty simple solution to that. The American country is dying. It is a very sick country. For whatever reason you might hold that to be, you can ask me about my own opinions on perhaps a less public platform. The American nation is just very sick, and it will not be lasting, by my guess, another 30 years. I wouldn't hold my breath over the importance of America.
I mean, the problem with predictions, though, is that politics is random. I mean,
politics is random, but it's also unbelievably predictable.
There's that, but I'm talking some events can be sped up, frankly.
In the short term, you can't predict the size of a tree, but you can predict the average height of a tree in a forest. This is the sort of analogy I would like to use. And long-term trends are generally very easy to predict.
Let me rephrase that. I think you may have misunderstood me. What I'm saying, I agree it's going to go down that route, but I'm actually saying it may happen a lot sooner. I think 30 years might be even generous, because sure. One example would be, 5 or 6 years ago, Boris Johnson being prime minister was the subject of ridicule. I mean, if anyone remembers the cartoon, it was a puppet show actually, Newsoids, there was a skit where there was a karaoke part where Boris Johnson was singing about, I'll be prime minister if everyone forgets how shit I was. And lo and behold, 3 or 4 years after that, he became prime minister. Random things do happen that propel people's success or drag nations down.
I mean, don't overweigh the value of the press, because the press said for all of the year that Donald Trump wasn't going to be president, and then lo and behold, he became president. But whether it's sooner or later, I mean, it's all stochastic. What we're talking about here is the long-term trend, and the long-term trend is south, and that's what matters. So,
and that's why we need to quote unquote sever the umbilical cord from America. Be our own man.
We still rely on a lot of US companies. So the F-35s, the B program, we worked with the US for that. There were US test pilots flying it about. We rely on them for a lot of the tech we use. So Boeing, they have. We need to get behind the corporations, make sure those corporations don't centralize with the US. Invest more in the whole CANS UK program and just start weaning our way off bit by bit.
Callum, did you just say CANS UK? Did you just say CANS UK? It's CANS. It's CANS. You utter.
All right. Okay.
I'm not talking about Sabaton, however you say it.
I mean, moving aside from the existence of corporations, what actually matters in terms of long-term economics is human capital, and we have the human capital. A classic example of this is West Germany and Japan after the Second World War. They were full of a lot of bright people, and economically they recovered very quickly. And that what matters then is that if we got rid of American companies, I'm not concerned in the least, because there are still, I know British academia is a mess, but there is still a lot of good content out there. And I think we have our way back, but we do need to get rid of a globalist style economic system. At least in this country.
Like one thing that Thomas Sowell taught me, of course, indirectly, was that if a company goes bust, the capital still exists. The labor force that worked for that company still exists. It just needs to be bought up or used by someone else. So kicking American companies out, it wouldn't mean we lose out as much. It may not be a smart move in the short run, but it doesn't mean we're done for.
Yeah. All right. Dragging it back to topic now. Very interesting. I think I agree with you on American companies. I think we need to encourage domestic industry in a sort of mercantilist way. But especially post Brexit, I think Brexit's a big opportunity for that. But Eno's just come in. So do you have any thoughts on what we've discussed so far? I think we've talked about Meghan Markle and Piers Morgan.
Wait, what are we talking about?
Meghan Markle.
Also, hello, Otis. It's been a while. How are you doing?
Okay,
Yes,
we're not doing
this.
Okay.
How are we tonight?
Doing good. Hope you're all
Doing
having a
good.
good Mother's Day. Did you get your mother's a gift?
Yeah.
Long story.
Good to hear. So, we're talking about Meghan Markle.
Yeah. Any thoughts on that whole thing?
Just it just shows how easily manipulated Americans are. It's obvious what she's doing, and the fact that like so many Americans fell for it, it's just laughable.
It's a question of there's different people in the American media. I think some people were falling for it, some people weren't. But again, as I spoke about earlier, it's central to this whole sort of narrative of the new aristocracy of people like Oprah Winfrey and people like on those kind of shows and fighting against what they consider to be like this old oppressive power. And you can see that again today. I did mention the Churchill statue before, but again, it's this new society attacking what is in essence the old society, right? They're putting their own statues up of their own figures, and it happened in Rhodesia, it happened in South Africa. It's the opposition kind of making its own society, sort of. And there was a statue of the BLM protester in Bristol that I think is a good example of that obviously replaced
it got taken down, by the way. It did get taken down.
Yeah.
So I think it's important to note, though, that BLM, at least one of the BLM founders, I don't know if she actually holds any actual power in the BLM movement, but she called for a boycott of the royal family. I think that's very telling. It shows that these people, the ideology of being quote-unquote anti-racist, which it doesn't mean that. It means it means other things. It deserves its own stream. But it's all tied in with being against traditional institutions like an established church, against churches themselves, against the monarchy in other countries that are completely unrelated to the United States. And that's what leftism is in general. I mean, does anyone remember it? I think it was last year, it might be in the year before. In Chile, there was an Antifa riot against the right-wing government there, and they burned down a very historic church. And they were chanting, they were saying, "This is great." And it's like there was no reason to burn it down. It wasn't a protest against the Catholic Church. It was a protest against the government. They just felt like burning down this church. No other buildings, just that church.
Again, Scruton talked about this. Sorry, Karen.
If anyone's seen the Chilean Armed Forces, they've got a very 1940s Germany style-esque of ceremonial uniforms. They still have picket hats. They still goose that. It's kind of it's incredible to watch them do any kind of ceremonial drill because they've
Callum,
got.
I do hate to criticize you, but did you just for your pronunciation? But did you just say Pickett's hat?
Pickle hat. Look, I've just got. I went for a 2-mile run today.
Okay, I'm sorry, man. It's rude of me. I'm sorry.
I'm screeching now.
I'm
How
sorry.
am I
Anyway,
getting? How am I getting roasted like so hard today? Not me.
Well, anyway, what were we talking about? Yeah, people attacking churches in Chile. Yeah, I mean, you can see during the Spanish Civil War, obviously the Republicans, which were heavily backed by Stalin's Russia, and also by people like Curfew and all these different anarchist groups and things. There were some like standard just liberals in it, but there were also it was heavily leftist influenced. They obviously were very, very famous for attacking churches during their
more reason to. Even then, they had more reason to, at least, because the Catholic Church was very deeply intertwined with the nationalist forces. In this instance, it's just let's go burn a church for the hell of it, and that's who we're dealing with. We're dealing with people who will attack tradition, even when it's completely unrelated to the topic at hand. Anyway, would we like to talk more about this, or could we perhaps
we haven't gone to Limbu in a bit. Any thoughts on anything?
Oh no, I mean, I think most of what I was going to say was already spoken about, so there's no point me reiterating it. So yeah.
All right, cool. What was the next topic? Oh, Richard Tice. Richard Tice did a press conference this week. It was the opening press conference for the what is now the Reform UK Party, formerly the Brexit Party, and he talked a lot about. He didn't talk about an awful lot that would interest sort of the general population. He spent a long time talking about sort of the economic policies, and it was specifically liberal economic policies that he was advocating for. He was advocating for sort of like low tax low tax sort of pro business economics, and this I found quite strange because the Reform UK Party, obviously in the last election and obviously in the EU election, found a lot of success in the north. It found a lot of success with working class people. Basically, no upper class people voted for the Brexit Party. It was practically a working class party. Basically, all the upper class people voted for the Conservatives, and it was really uninspiring. It's just like a PowerPoint presentation of how he thinks low tax is good, and it's not anything that people would I see going to be interested in, and people that support that kind of economics are going to vote Conservative. And what he really should have done, I think, and what there's a demand for is, I suppose, like a blue Labour style party that can appeal to people in the north. Particularly. But
the problem with Richard Tice is a good rule for politicians is if you can remember their voice, they're going to be impactful. They're going to have influence. And I just don't know at all what Richard Tice sounds like. Like does it? What does he sound like?
I listen to it. It's just like this sort of like vaguely. Sort of, I mean, I don't want to make any comments about people's accents, but it's just sort of this like posh Southern bloke coming on and saying, "Hello, here's why low tax is a good thing." And it's just like, do you think anyone is going to vote for you? Like, seriously, you're polling at 2%, and you're coming doing a national.
That sounds like the sort of person Lizzie would vote for.
I mean, I'm just piggybacking off that. Like, I mean, I remember just before you gave a listing, and I looked up Mr. Tice, and like his entire background is in economics, and just, piggybacking off what you said, that's just unbelievably uninspiring, because all the current economic zeitgeist is about is economics. Are we spending enough? Are we not spending enough? People find that really drab. I mean, I know I don't, because I do a degree in it, but like, it's for most people, they don't want to hear about the dry numbers and about increasing GDP. It's not an impactful thing for them, especially when wages haven't risen in 40 years. So like, it's a very uninspired and very disappointing thing for what the extreme right extremer to go for.
Yeah,
And the problem is this is his rhetoric, which is the problem. Like, I used to be a populist, but I'm not a populist anymore, at least in policy. But I think the good thing populism has is rhetoric. Populist rhetoric works. And you can see this in the Brexit vote. Why did the North vote for Brexit? I mean, I don't think the North is stupid, but I don't think the North is populated with economists who understands the ins and outs of the Brexit ramifications. But what they did see was a declining community. They saw people around them who were suffering, and this appealed to their emotions. They wanted to take back control. It's rooted in emotion, which is the key part of populism. And this is why social conservatism is on the rise, especially now, is because it's social conservatism is frankly emotional in many regards. I mean, obviously there's a logical perspective to it. I mean, we oppose certain practices because it spreads STDs, such as premarital sex. I mean, whenever you see a rise in premarital sex, you see a rise in STDs. That may be logical, but in the
before here is made out of
but for the large part, this is a matter of emotion. And if Richard Tice's policies were the same as they were, I couldn't care. But the fact that he made this his keynote speech, his boring policies, and not something that's populist, truly populist and emotional, he's just going to die. Well, he's not going to die literally. He's going to take that as a threat. I mean, his party's going to die. That's what I meant.
I mean,
he's going to get milkshakes to death.
Yeah.
I think there is a base.
No one's getting milkshaked anymore, are they? Because that was actually pretty fun trend in politics.
It wasn't funny. It was just annoying.
It was funny. I found it funny. As someone who grew up in a bit of a fucked up city, and I remember when Nigel Farage actually came to Peterborough during the election there. I don't know if anyone remembers that. The by-election in Peterborough when I can't remember the name. They all went a bit tits up basically. So UKIP, Brexit Party. We had some fucking crackhead on a bike with an EU flag tied around his neck. He got about 70 votes. I remember just biking past and going, what the fuck? Is that fucking Nigel Farage? Just on my way to college. Just a normal fucking day. And Labour won that by a couple %, I think. It was a very weird time.
Yeah. But pivoting back to where we were, so the thing is about the Tory party is that they respond very well to political pressure, be it political pressure from the SNP or the Liberal Democrats or UKIP in 2015, etc., etc. And if the Brexit party actually became a threat and started pressuring them on things that they're not very good at, like social conservatism and mainly social conservatism, but also globalization, etc., then the Tories would change. They are very dynamic, and they more than anything else, as any Democratic Party is, they care about the next election most. And it's such a missed opportunity from the Brexit Party here. It's just soul crushing, man.
It is significantly harder than it used to be. Now, obviously, I could fully condemn the National Front, and I think they're disgusting. But one thing they did do is they made Thatcher reconsider her immigration stance. They made her shift to the right on immigration. Now, I'm just going to say this again: the National Front is disgusting. They are led by disgusting people. Their members, actual members, are vile people, and I will say that until I die. But the threshold for forcing the Tories to change position has changed. The BNP, another, well, frankly, lying group, they got more votes than the National Front did in 1979, but even then the Tories didn't shift. The Tories didn't think that is a threat. So it shows that the threshold for having to shift the Tories' position has changed. And UKIP had to get, 10%, 12% of the votes to make the Tories hold the referendum. Like, it would take a lot of effort to make the Tories shift towards what we want, and I don't think we can achieve that in the time that we have.
I find it funny though, the youth organisation of the BNP getting, how we say, infested with some fun personalities.
You mean paedophiles?
Yes, let's just say that.
There was the I forgot his name, but he was in National Action, and he turned out to be a paedophile. He was a 16-year-old paedophile, which was bizarre.
Oh my god!
I mean, Mark
Yeah.
nonce as well. To be fair, didn't he like get caught talking?
All right, okay, we're not making any act now. Okay, thank you. No, we're not doing that.
Just to clarify, the person I'm talking about is an actual convicted paedophile. It's legally certified he's a paedophile.
No.
He has his paedophile diploma. He has his paedophile diploma. But no, I mean, this is the kind of party we're talking about. We're talking about a party, the BNP, which lied to its voters. Like there's a conference that Nick Griffin was at with David Duke, in which he said that he was deliberately lying to the British public, being more moderate than he actually is. And the people who are in the BNP, there was one of them sent nail bombs to several homosexual nightclubs. I mean, say what you want because of your religion, but sending nail bombs is absolutely disgusting. Like, these are the people who are tied to that party, and it's not. It's wrong. It's horrible.
It's wrong.
Nail bombs.
Yes. Shall we go back to the topic at hand?
Richard Tice.
Richard Tice.
It's a funny.
Richard
Tice.
Oh, okay. I mean, Richard Tice. He's a curious character, in my opinion. I mean, say a bit like Nigel Farage, they claim to be populist, essentially working man people. But then when you got Richard Tice having offshore connections and not paying British tax, that is something to be concerned with. One surprising thing which the Reform Party is not doing is that they aren't focusing on the culture war, which it is surprising. On the issue of tax, of the inheritance tax, capital gains tax, and corporation tax, I wouldn't be surprised if the Tories would shift their position on that to resemble more of the Reform Party. But yeah, again, it's a 50-50.
I mean, to be fair, I think, I don't know, the value of groups like the Reform Party and obviously the Brexit Party and historically UKIP was that they were able to pressure the Conservatives to move to the right on certain issues. Obviously, UKIP got the Tories to take on the European question again, which they did in the 80s. But again, I don't know whether or not you can sort of get this sort of, I don't know. I suppose you can't really get like this sort of popular will in order to move forward towards like a low tax agenda in the way that you can sort of with things like Brexit, with things like immigration, and with other things like that. I don't think there's a potential for that with that particular topic. But yeah, I
highly doubt. I'm actually amazed that the Tories are so high in the polls after all this shit with COVID. I mean, there's been some fuck ups. Like, don't get me started.
There's been fuck ups. I mean,
are you surprised? Why?
Starmer, I mean,
I don't know. I stopped watching the news a bit when I took a work assignment for a few weeks, and I was in London for a bit. We had all sorts of supply issues going on, and from a healthcare perspective, it was an absolute clusterfuck. And I was hearing
that's not what matters, unfortunately. It's the public perspective, and Boris Johnson is the man who's having one of the most successful. I think it's actually the most successful vaccine rollout in the world at the moment.
Oh yeah,
correct me if I'm wrong. So that's a massive win for the government.
When we look at the outsourcing, we look at the PPE, we look at I know there's a whole Circo test and trace shit post going about. You've got allowing PPE to get mailed off to China and having it price gouged. And
whoa, buddy! You can't be talking smack about Xi Jinping.
Send me to the gulag. Send me to the gulag.
No, actually, Internet Historian did a very good video on this. Internet Historian did a very good video on this. I think it was Tales from the Virus 2. And he talks about how the Chinese government rather, they told the employees of Chinese companies in Western nations to buy as much PPE as possible and ship it back to China. And there was ridiculous amounts of PPE being bought and shipped back. I think it was in billions of units. Like there was a lot of PPE that got shipped back to China, and that's why there was a shortage. It was nothing because of it wasn't because of anything natural, or rather the actual panic caused by coronavirus. It was because of the Chinese government telling the employees of Chinese firms to buy. This is what the Chinese government is up to, and it's horrible.
It gets worse. In 2016, there was a report of we weren't ready for a pandemic. We didn't have enough staff. We didn't have enough PPE. It was expired. Gear was faulty. Whatnot. Then we have the WannaCry attacks, and our IT systems have not developed since then. We could easily get WannaCry again during a pandemic. And because medical staff aren't supposed to be trained as IT, they're caregivers, but we don't, you've got overworked staff who could easily fall for, say, a Trojan message on the computer. You've got outdated, love that comment, Henry. It's a ticking time bomb, and it's a miracle that it hasn't came off worse or something else hasn't kicked off.
So I'd just like to interrupt because Brian, who is in the waiting room, the backstage, he's made something absolutely hilarious. You know, Mr. Ping from Kung Fu Pandas. He's called Xi Jinping. He's literally Mr. Ping.
You haven't really said much lately. Would you be able to make some space?
Anyway, thank you, Brian. Thank you, Brian.
All right, do you want to say anything at all on what we're talking about?
What was she talking about?
Something Xi Jinping, something. China.
When Ozzy just started talking, it just zoned out.
Please.
Ozzy's very interesting.
Anyway,
he's very interesting.
Actually, there was one thing we should talk about. We're missing the elephant in the room. The men not lockdown. The men curfew.
Oh, please, that's fucking.
The story is the Welsh First Minister from Labour. I've got a tangent about that, by the way. I'll go on about it in a minute. He said he's not ruling out a curfew for all men, which is just bra. It's not even a bra, man. What's wrong with you?
It's been blown out of proportion. This entire 6 p.m. thing has been blown way out of the water.
I mean,
even if there is a 6 p.m. curfew, the police are genuinely too retarded.
It's probably not going to happen, but it's more the point that he said he wasn't going to rule it out.
And it's also the principle. It's the principle of this being said in an assembly of people. I mean, are you really excited to have a good boy stamp? And if you get enough good boy stamps, you can go out for 1 hour after 7 p.m. with a chauffeur. It's just...
Yeah, that's never going to happen, mate. In fact, I know the perfect way to get your head around this entire thing. I'm going to go out.
This Welsh Minister. Oh, okay.
All I have to do is walk down the street and say, "Sorry, officer, I ain't got no gender," and just walk on.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Modern solutions.
I think Ian wants to say something about this, so we'll
okay. The whole thing was started because that young girl, got kidnapped by a police officer, right? I mean, recently there's been an article of her friend coming out and actually saying that my friend wouldn't have wanted this. Her tribute has turned into something else, something political, which she wouldn't have supported in the first place. And we have to remember, people, wait for these events so they can, push their agenda down everyone's throats.
Well, the issue with this is, one thing is, the police are not a trusted organisation at the moment. Even before all this, with the whole COVID response, they have absolutely lost a lot of public credibility. I don't see why off-duty officers shouldn't hand their warrant cards back in at the end of every shift. That would be a much easier solution. well, not a solution, but it's definitely a step you can take that doesn't harm anyone. It stops fucking mall cops taking the law into their own hands when they're on a stroll, and it stops abuses of power like this.
But going back to the
I mean-
Welsh First Minister oh, sorry, you continue. Sorry, I thought you stopped.
So it's principle, right? So we have common law, right? So if I saw a guy trying to stab up an old lady, you are allowed to try and prevent the guy stabbing an old lady. But you don't have police powers, so you can't arrest him and read him his right. The same goes for another lawful power of stop searches. If an off-duty officer comes up to you and while you're just having a walk and says, "You're getting stop searched, but I'm not on duty," you can't react the same way. You can just tell them to fuck off and go.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
May I say, on the Welsh First Minister thing, backtracking slightly, there's a good friend of mine on my server who I respect him a lot, but there's one thing we disagree on the most, and that is whether the Tories and Labour, whether they're the same or if one's better than the other. And I think this goes to show that Labour is unquestionably worse than the Tories. Like the Tories are not going around saying, let's totally open the borders. At least the Tories are having some sort of paper-thin wall to stop immigration. Like, at least the Tories aren't going around saying, let's tear down every statue, let's have a curfew for men, or at least even consider having a curfew for men. This makes, like, I'm sorry, but this idea that just because you may agree with Labour more on economics means you should vote for them. No. Labour's infinitely worse than the Tories, and this is proof of it. They will consider curfews for men. And you know what? That probably means they will at some point do it. Like, you remember the whole abolish the police thing? Does anyone remember the meme where there's a woman in the crowd of some like a town hall style debate thing saying, we need to abolish the police, and that was like the big mainstream conservative meme. Look at this stupid person. Now they're actually doing it. In Minneapolis, they abolished their police department. This is happening. And so should we laugh off this idea that there will be a curfew for men? Should we laugh this off? No.
I have a proposition.
No.
Who wants to make a bet with me that in 10 years' time, the Conservatives will be talking about abolishing the police?
Yeah, they will.
Nah.
I mean, that's prediction. No,
Honestly, how much money are we talking about here? I'm going to bet.
I mean, all we have to do
$5.
is look
Come on.
All we have to do really is look at Theresa May. What did Theresa May do when she was in office? She stopped stop and search because she thought it was racist. Right? I mean, you know,
Theresa May also ramped up deportations. Theresa May was also the person who did the Windrush scandal. So it's not exactly. It's very nuanced. It's very nuanced.
Otis, do you have a response to Squatty Buckers saying, lol, who is this Anglo-Swaxon guy? Does he remember when the Tories opened our borders to 5 million Hong Kongers?
Squatty, add me on Discord. My tag is free.
Well, actually, I do have a response to that.
Okay.
Frankly, that's not going to happen. I spoke to the one of the MPs about it because I actually work for the Conservative Party. And that's not the reality. The Conservative Party, well, first of all, China's actually blocked. They don't recognize overseas citizenships for the British anymore, so it won't happen anyway. But keep in mind, only at most 100,000 people would have actually come over. That's at most. The reality is it would have been a few tens of thousands, and even then, it would have been temporary. So it's not 5 million. That's an overstatement. Like, as much as it was a bad decision, we do have to recognize the realities of the situation. It wasn't going to be that. It never was going to be. So the Tories were aware it wasn't going to be that bad.
On the topic of that as well, I was speaking to my other Asian Hong Konger friends, and they were talking about on culture and heritage, and they wouldn't want to go to the UK. Rather, they would want to stay with mainland Chinese culture, which is fair enough. Stay to your own culture. So,
yeah. I mean, there's also the idea that would you rather bring in 10,000 people who you know are going to leave after a few years anyway, like as opposed to normal immigration? I think that's actually an okay deal as long as they leave. You know,
What makes you think
it's not as
that,
bad as you think.
The issue is, right, you can't.
Well, because it was a
difficult to
temporary
ask
solution anyway.
It's difficult. It's very, very difficult to ask someone to come over, stay a couple of years, try build up a life, get qualifications, and then Yuki Chan them out of the country midway.
There's that as well, yeah.
It's really,
I'm not looking at the YouTube chat. Am I being torn apart right now?
not really. You
There's
can't-
one guy who's talking about the Hong Kong stuff. Personally, my view is obviously there was the British handover of Hong Kong in 1997, which to an extent shouldn't have happened. The only thing that was
That's already
covered,
been violated.
that's Asian history really. But the only thing that was required to be handed over in 1997 was the new territories. It wasn't required to hand over Hong Kong Island, but that did happen anyway. My view of it is basically the British state has the right to offer a passport to whoever it wants to offer a passport to. Does that mean it's the right thing to do to offer like mass passports to these Hong Kongese citizens? No, I think mainly for the reason that like a lot of them could have sympathies for the Chinese Communist Party, and you have to think about who is the Chinese government going to let leave Hong Kong, going to let them come to the UK. They're going to be people that have been pre-vetted. So I've got a lot of sympathy for people from Hong Kong. Obviously they're having a big battle against this sort of like you could say like the Occident culture of the Chinese Communist Party coming in to try and control their state, which has a completely different tradition, a completely different worldview. But again, I think we left Hong Kong in 1997. The only responsibility we have towards Hong Kong is to maintain the Anglo-Chinese agreement on that, which we haven't done enough to do to an extent. China flagrantly breaks that constantly, but again, China flagrantly breaks pretty much every international agreement that's been written since the Chinese Communist Party came into power. So,
on that briefly, shouldn't we? I'm not now. Obviously, we shouldn't open our borders. I think that our borders should be severely restricted, if not closed temporarily. But we should have sympathy for migrants in general, because keep in mind the reason they're coming here is because where they come from is a horrible place to live. Like, we should have sympathy at the very least, but that shouldn't dictate policy, obviously.
We are forgetting that there's a global pandemic going on, and we should have actually shut the borders when this shit kicked off.
Well,
can you do me a favor? When this is all over, can you send me the footage?
all right, you can download it. You can download it on YouTube. I'll send it to you anyway. But
You got my Discord?
Yeah, I've got you on Discord.
Sweet.
I might go soon just to let Brian on.
Yeah,
I might go soon so I can sleep and let Brian on. So is there any other news story we could bring up? That
we'll address this. Anglo-Swaxon is mistaken. 800,000 are expected already in 2021. Plus the crime that will come with
800,000 expected.
Is severely under 7 international trials, modern slavery, human and drug trafficking. So everyone's DMing me at once, and then
okay.
Right.
I think one thing on immigration that I have to mention
well,
is
I might be wrong then. Yeah.
Same as Otis. The basic.
That I predict.
Yeah, let him finish his point.
Well, let Limbu finish. Yeah, come on.
So on the basic point of immigration, no matter what the situation is, I think that if families leave their home country and go whether 500 to like 10,000 miles away, and they just come to our country, and then they want to learn our language, they want to contribute to our society, and they want to do something to affect our economy in a good way, and if they want to respect our home law, there should be something to admire and respected, and they shouldn't be treated like shit like most of the National Front, BNP tend to often
it's
do.
better. Yeah, it's better than it's better than what we see. So there is some validity in that. On the 800,000 thing, I'm unaware. I'm just saying what an MP told me. So feel free to tell me otherwise. The thing is, with the people coming over, though, are they going to be the triads? I don't know what the Chinese position on the criminal gangs are. I wouldn't be surprised if they worked hand in hand with them, frankly.
47.
But yeah, I do see what you mean. I'm opposed to it. I even said at the meeting, that I was against this and that we should be wary, especially when we campaigned in a previous election to say we're going to restrict immigration. So my sympathies are with you, but at the same time, it's not 5 million. It's not 5 million, which is
AlphaGo
at this point, not being 5 million is good.
I mean,
AlphaGo's brought up the triads problem as well, which is something to be considered. Anyway, carry on, Otis. Sorry, Ozzy.
Yeah, just apologies for interrupting you, Limbu. I didn't mean to do that.
Thank you.
Just with regards, like, I mean, the fact is that any increase in migration generally leads, and it just leads to bad outcomes, especially considering that they generally like to concentrate in areas, and this increases. This does increase criminal actions. So whether or not the triad thing is true or not, it doesn't really matter, because we know that the outcomes of this conglomeration won't be ideal. Anyway, that's what I had to say.
True K's, I think, yeah, he said you're literally being replacing more than GDP flat. That's completely correct. Yeah, that's another completely fair point to make. Obviously, 800,000 Hong Kongese.
Could you read that out again? I missed it.
I'll check it on screen for you.
Being replaced by more than GDP fatter. Is that what you think my position is?
I'm not
if you
sure
think that's my position, you're very mistaken.
I'm not sure he's saying that, but
he seems very accusatory.
Well, yeah, okay, maybe, but I think that's true.
Yeah.
Obviously, Britain is more than just a land mass. To an extent, obviously, it has cultural and ethnic ties and things like that. So, which I'm sure everyone's more than aware of. So I won't go into any more detail. But anyway, it needs to stop indigenous white birth rate. Yep. Right. Okay. So, what was the other things we were going to talk about?
I was going to mention that the war in Afghanistan might finally be over because Mr. Biden is building on Trump's legacy and offering the Taliban a power-sharing peace deal, which surprisingly the left isn't criticizing. Which is, well, we know why, because it's Joe Biden doing it. But I think it goes to show our war. Welcome back, Napoleon. Our war in Afghanistan was really for nothing. Irrespective of this idea that, it cost us money. Why should we be fighting these people anyway? The fact alone that the Taliban are going to be in power again shows that even from the perspective of the people who supported this war, what's going to change? Nothing. So again, it goes to show this is a completely pointless war, which is a shame. It's a big shame. A shame we went in. I mean,
yeah. I mean, well, Napoleon's just come back. We'll ask you on your general thoughts on what we've discussed. You've been in backstage for a while, so do you have anything you want to say, or a basis of your politics as well? I don't think we really introduced you very well, but yeah. Do you want to say anything, Napoleon?
Yeah, is my mic okay now?
Yeah, it's better now.
Yeah. So obviously, I have a lot of underlying beliefs, but the one thing that I can really only be arsed arguing about online is immigration. So that's like my main one. The one that I argue the most with. Obviously, I argue like every day on like Discord, and it's cancer. So yeah, I guess you'll just have to ask me questions like whenever. Obviously not now, to understand more, but I can't really underline it. So yeah.
Anyway, on that note, also, I think I'm going to go. Just sorry for interrupting, but I think I'm going to go to let Brian in.
Wait,
thanks for having me.
Otis, wait. You never told me your first name.
I what? Are you thick? Napoleon, Otis is my first name.
Oh my god! Otis,
oh my!
I think the joke just not only flew past you, it did a barrel roll, then proceeded to crash into your face, and then took off again.
This is like, what is Obama's first? What is Obama's? Oh wait, no, Obama is.
I thought there was I thought that was a meme. Shut up.
No, my
Otis,
name is
what is your-
Otis. Shut up.
I was like, oh,
What's your full
I
name,
was like,
Otis?
my name is
Prove it.
Otis. My name is.
Look here, you Gallic Scotsman. It's a base
sorry, where is that
Anglo-Saxon
name
I'll
from?
have you know. It's from Otto, I believe. It means rich
Jewish?
and
Oh,
wealthy.
Otto. Also
Yeah.
German. Oh,
Yeah.
oh, so
yeah,
rich and
but
wealthy Jewish. Huh?
Yeah. No, it doesn't mean Jewish.
Yeah,
No, it means rich and wealthy. Besides, I support the state of Israel, unironically. So
Rich and wealthy. What did you say there?
Don't worry, Otis, we love you.
look
Should I say
here.
Otto?
Look
Yeah,
here.
it's been good talking to you. Otis.
Sausage win.
Anyway,
Otis,
thanks for
uh,
having me. I'm
pleasure.
gonna take a look briefly at the live chat on YouTube to see how much people hate me after
Yeah,
saying
actually
something
not
nice
that.
about the Hong Kongers. But
Yeah, actually not that hated, to be fair. It's mainly
Oh,
just
really? Oh.
invite emo. Maybe it happened. Several million.
Oh God!
oh
Really,
my, you can't be
this is why I was skeptical of allowing a chat to happen, because you get idiots talking about did it really happen? Yes,
Well,
it did.
Otis,
Yeah,
now you've gone there.
people
Now
are
everyone really likes you.
Were they
don't
actually talking about that? Oh, fuck's sake! It should give
Wait,
people
what?
are actually mostly posting in the chat.
Yeah. Okay. Before I go, I'm gonna end on
that.
this
That's
remark. I'm gonna end on this remark. Oswald Mosley was a complete idiot, and you just need to read his Wikipedia entry to see why. Thanks for having me,
That's big.
and
Oh, no
hopefully,
comment.
I'll
No
hopefully I'll be
comment.
joining you next week. Hopefully, I'll be joining you
Alright,
next
love
week.
you.
We'll have Brian in now. Thanks,
Right.
Otis. For
Love you, babe.
All right. Bye.
It's been a pleasure, mate. Anyway.
Okay.
So,
Thank you, lads. I've been waiting for like an hour now.
That's sad. I think I might have to leave in 5 minutes due to reasons.
I swear to God.
beginning
you did not
with
just do that to me.
Elizabeth and ending in Eno. Yeah.
Yes.
at least Eno's not here anymore.
Are we going to get stream sniped?
Fuck yeah.
Stream
lovely.
snipe? Do you mean I'm going to get killed on stream?
Who are we going to get a stream
It
snipe
means
by?
that someone else does a stream of your stream.
Oh,
I
okay.
can't
Scream
believe his
snipe
name
way,
was
yeah.
Otto.
Should I dox Otis while he's gone? I think that'd be fun.
None of you
Anyway.
oh, wait.
Otis lives at
What we discussing?
local
now?
playground.
What were we discussing, Oak? That's a good question.
I've forgotten. It's so tiring.
I think we should end it at this note.
No, I literally just got here.
Well, Brian's just got.
I want to know about
Brian,
the
you get-
1919 nationalism.
What's your thoughts on the Oprah Winfrey Meghan Markle interview?
Woman.
Okay.
Basically, I think it's a bit shit, to be honest. I haven't watched it myself. I can't be asked. It's really just a man who's had a tough life gone with the wrong person, and he's, for lack of a better word, he's a cuck now, isn't he? It's true, though, isn't he? He had to give up his favourite sport and whatnot.
He had to get. Did he have to stop playing polo? Wasn't he? He had to stop playing or something.
No, it was hunting, I believe. He had to sell all his really expensive rifles.
Oh, mate.
Like that's like a man's soul. You can't just take that away.
Mm.
Bit sad,
yeah.
but
I'm just ironing a shirt.
in general, I think a lot of what she said was a lie. Like, I don't think anyone said they were worried about her skin color. Not hers, the baby's. I think that's utterly rubbish.
I genuinely.
I would be.
I hope it was Charles. Anyway, no. Okay. Right.
I
Well,
hope it was all of them.
no. Well, I mean, I don't know. It's the entitlement as well. She was like, "Oh, I had to learn. I had to learn. God save the Queen."
The national anthem, like, what the fuck?
You're only working for us.
Yeah, you only came into like the royal fucking family. Like,
Yeah.
you'd be expect to know the national anthem, wouldn't you?
The guy definitely deserves a break, though. The shit he's been through in the past, he really
He
does.
deserves a break, yeah, but she doesn't. Definitely not.
I mean, I want him to do another costume party. That was pretty funny. If anyone's got a picture of him with a swastika.
Oh my
arm.
god, yeah.
I would give him a break if he picked anyone but her.
I mean, I'm still single. If any ladies.
He's got. It's not like
Wow.
he didn't have options either. He's like he had
No, he had
like a model
amazing
girlfriend. He had like
He's
a model
royalty. You
girlfriend.
have, yeah, you have like any choice in the world. You can just say, hell yeah, I'm Prince Harry. Get anyone. But he chose a divorced 36-year-old.
Disappointing once again.
The face one. Okay. It's been, to be honest, like it's not been a particularly spicy stream.
There's not much news, has there? All it's been is.
Well, I can make it a very spicy stream.
Oh, no.
We should just like.
Can you read us your Aussies cross Otis fanfic first? I'd
I'm
love to hear
sorry,
that.
but I don't think I could do this to you guys.
Still got 31. Still got 30, 32. We'll keep flying along. What else? Can we talk about? Any thoughts on? What it's Mother's Day, isn't it? Today.
Mother's Day. I got my mum a Chinese takeaway. You know.
Oh,
Tasty.
Yeah.
I'm still not able to leave base for more than 2 hours. Fuck my existence.
My idea of a question was: is it how do you pronounce scone?
Scone.
Because I saw this on Twitter just today.
Cheers,
It's scone.
Spoon?
like, can we just
Scone.
reference
People who say, "Oh,
that?
it's gone,"
What
because
is
it sounds like gone. Oh, mate, you're dyslexic. It's like
It's scone.
scone. Scone has cone in it.
It's scone.
It's scone.
Nig.
Aussie.
Go.
No, it's not.
Nig.
Alright, calm down.
Why is everyone making end tabs?
Excuse me.
No. Guess he's gonna have to disable the live chat after this. Fuck's sake.
No, don't.
I just noticed. Oh, what a lovely Mother's Day gift.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm sure we all very much appreciate that. Anyway, so
No, I
Sorry,
oh, I'm tired. Anyway, so we got Limbu here. So we may as well say you said in your video that there's historically been I am based, all right. Okay, you said historically there's been a battle for right-wing politics between like the liberal and the traditional right. So we have people like Enoch Powell, people like going further back, and other people as well, trying to fight for what is true sort of conservatism, and the conservatism we have at the moment, British conservatism, is basically incapable of fighting the right. So I thought maybe you could just sort of go into a bit of detail on what you think like conservatives or right wingers should like try and adopt. I guess I don't know. Scratching the topic. We're scraping the barrel here. But please
Scraping the barrel up.
It's a case of hearts and minds, really. You can't get people on your side by just going up to them, screaming, "My side good, your side bad, pedo, everyone." It's not. We need to start approaching people in a more communal setting. Just go up to them like, "Hey, can't you want a pint?" And just chat with them then in a relaxed setting. And this is in your daily lives as well.
Well,
It's gonna.
We're not going to see Callum now start approaching some supple young boys and start saying, "Hey, you want to?"
Right.
Walks
What
into the
happened
playground.
with me, the incident between me and that 30-year-old wimp in a nightclub. Yeah. It. Squaddy, I am based. I fucking love you, man. Yeah, but we need to start closing the fucking divide right now. We need to stop screeching at people in the streets. You know what I mean? It's getting to a point where people are getting hurt, and I'm laughing
how
at
do you
too
do
much
that?
riot.
Unfortunately, like sometimes politics does turn into violence, and as the saying goes, you have to fight fire with fire, I guess. But no one wants, of course, no one wants violence.
I'm not drunk enough to advocate political violence. If anyone is, Brian, you're going to be very quiet right now. Squaddy, we are going to have a pint at some point. Okay.
What should be like a 14-year-old, and you just agree to that?
Based. All right.
What?
All right, chaps. I think I'm going to head out.
Yeah, I think we should probably end it.
Yeah.
You never even asked about the benefit program.
Can I just?
All right, carry on. What do you want to say?
It's really good 2 hours.
I was
Yeah,
going to give just a final opinion on in-group fighting, but I don't know if you have the time or something.
Go on. In group fighting, that's a good thing to talk about.
The whole thing about in-group fighting is that I think politics is just a very cancerous way. Well, here's one way to look at it: is that politics is just a very cancerous way of name calling and flying shit on the wall and see if it'll stick. I think Billy Connolly said that name calling is the Vaseline of politics. Once it's on there, it'll stick. I don't think you're ever gonna get the conflict like between the liberal conservatives and the kind of the ones further on the right to ever end. And to try and end that divide would be foolish. And I don't know how you're going to do that. I don't know how anyone's going to do it. So I don't think it'll ever stop. You can lower it, but I don't know how to do that, and I don't know if you know how to do that. So I think we're looking at the wrong issue. I think that we should stop making them more like us, and we should try and get more of our people into, say, the institution. I think that's the best way to do it. But even then, how we do that is going to be an entirely different question.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. We talked last week about the sort of different, different ways that can be done. But I don't know. I guess like the only thing you really can do is just trying to improve yourself. Go, try and get into institutions and things like that.
Exactly.
Yeah, definitely.
Try and stay sane. Make connections. I'm seeing chat. Yes, I am. I am actually mixed race. My mum is South American.
What?
Yeah, mate.
Yeah.
Sorry, you're not allowed.
Guys. Yeah, guys, I'm the Megan Markle of this chat.
I am fucking shit.
What, are you going to marry Napoleon and then talk about the Bush
Oh,
royal family?
Mate, I'm not. I'd let him fucking invade my Rhineland.
I would tear the house up.
This is going to turn into like ERP. Like,
yeah, this is gonna turn into the fucking
fuck off
comment section of black.com. And that's my podcast over.
Somehow, ever since ERP started, the viewers went up.
Oh shit, yeah. We're in the wrong business, boys.
Latino pig.
I'm like the Johnny Sins of right-wing podcast.
No, you're not.
Okay, I'm gonna stop now before I get like nuked off of this fucking stream.
Yeah, stop before you get on like a sex offender list, mate. Is there any other news that's happened today? Well, not today, this week.
Yeah, people trying to stop the Churchills. There's the Churchill statue stuff.
I haven't actually seen it. I think that happened like today, didn't it?
Yeah, that was today. I don't know. They always go after that every once in a while, don't they? So
yeah, it's because it's the monument of one of the greatest prime ministers we've had. Like, face enough, maybe his policies weren't great in your own opinion, but he saved us from.
They were based.
Yeah, I don't need to explain it. He's great. But yeah, that's probably why. Just because he's such a monumental figure, that's why he's gone after him. But yeah.
Yeah, well, I don't know. It's a difficult one, isn't it? I don't know. I've forgotten what we were even talking about again. I'm tired. I'm sorry.
Churchill fact.
Churchill is
Johnny Sins.
He isn't the best Englishman. Johnny Sins. Infighting. We'll talk about infighting. Infighting bad. Don't do infighting. Thanks. Okay.
You guys don't do political violence. Wink, wink.
No, oh come on. Fucking private stream again. Jesus Christ.
Oh yeah, sorry.
All right.
I was talking about Minecraft, guys. Just so you know.
Yeah, we're going to be playing a lot of Minecraft in the next few years. Man.
All right. Okay. I think.
I was going to say something.
Best Englishman. Probably.
I know it's not Athelstan.
Probably someone like Lawrence of Arabia in terms of quality of person. I say.
No, gay.
He was a great person, but he didn't do much, did he? I mean, he did a lot, yeah, but
he did a lot
compared to some other people.
No,
the greatest Englishman
probably not.
is the Duke of Wellington.
Arthur Wellesley, who's Irish.
Not even Arthur.
Yeah, he was Irish.
Wellesley.
He was Irish, though, wasn't he?
No, he was English actually. No,
he's
Anglo-Irish. Anglo-Irish is a
I don't
fucking
think it would be
retarded term,
Wellington. Because it
He's
could
an
be anyone
Englishman,
during the Napoleonic Wars. Nelson. Who was that other guy that Lindy Page talked about?
Don't give the Irish anything. Don't even give them Anglo-Irish because that's such bullshit.
Well, I mean,
Well,
I think
we can all agree.
Ireland's a part of the UK. The St Patrick's Cross on the Union Jack represents the whole. It represents the whole island. It does. It doesn't just represent. And if you go to Parliament, they've got the big harp and a big mosaic of St Patrick representing of course the entire island, and not just.
Painful.
What we can agree on though is that there's been many amazing, not only Englishmen but Scottish people, if you call them people. There's just been amazing people in on it history.
No, to the guy who said in the chat that Athelstan was the greatest Englishman ever, the Scottish Saltire was born out of a battle in 832 where Oengus II defeated Athelstan, and that's where the Scottish Saltire comes from. I think it's the oldest flag in the world, if anyone's just interested in that.
So, of course, heraldry wasn't commonly used until about 1000.
No.
So,
well, it was in Japan, but it wasn't like mainland Europe.
No, but is it that old, the Scottish flag?
832. That's like.
I really don't know much about history, so this is just your guys' topic.
Flag of Scotland.
Yeah.
Scotland.
The first time it was used,
but they will never take our freedom.
Perfetta rules. There's actually a Perfetta rules shortage right now, and it's actually.
Wait, no,
I had to buy it. No, See, for Mother's Day, my mum had to get tiramisu. It was fucking dreadful.
Alright, I think I might depart now, lads.
Yeah, I think we've come to the end. God bless you all. Have a nice evening and also a nice week. Sorry for the boring stream. It's
not our fault. The week the news is bad. All has been shit.
How did like 35 people watch the entire of that thing?
If any of you,
because the week's been boring fun too.
If any of you want my Twitter, it's this exact username, but with a Crusader with an AK as the PFP. I haven't even posted anything because I got locked out my old account, and Oake or Brian, if you can add me back to base department because I'm pissed off.
I got kicked as well. Yeah, I've been kicked.
Started. I'll tell you a fact.
Can we make a new base department?
Brian, can you not my Discord in? I'm on the guest account. It's this username with the hashtag 34.
Stop trying to plug your Discord and Twitter, bro. It's my job. I am going to put it in for you. It's been lovely for the 18 minutes I've been here.
Yeah, I'll put it in for you.
See you, lads.
The whole reason you banned is because I went on. I was fucking about last night. Chill. I went on Eno's Instagram live with a fake account, and I thought it would be funny to report it for hate speech as a joke. Went off to put my stuff in the washing machine, came back, and her stream had been taken down by my report. And then me being me in a state of Saturday night boredom, I went on the Twitter group chat and sent the picture with the caption, "Fuck you, prick." And oh boy, did things got spicy, lads.
There's no need for it.
There was no need for it. But I just thought it would. I was just laughing my ass off the fact that I accidentally nuked a fucking live stream. Fuck me, I've got work tomorrow as well. I've got to wake up at 6:30.
All right. Okay, I think that should conclude things. I guess.
I'm gonna edit out the best bits and post them on my YouTube channel for the
best bit. That'll be hard. That'll be hard for this. Goodness gracious.
Yeah,
it wasn't that bad.
We won't get it sorted, mate.
Very based, very red pilled. Right. Thank you to everyone who popped on. Links in description. Subscribe to Right Honourable Limbu. Good channel.
Add my Discord. I need a Trav Calf GF who's not Eno.
All right. Good night, everyone. See you.